Administratively, for those of you that are coming to us hybrid, I just posted in the Acuity 2024 thread, post any bill questions to this thread. We'll do the same thing for Mercury. So you want to ask any questions in that thread, somebody in the room will grab the mic and ask the question for you. But without further ado, Jake, take us home, man. Like, show us what Bill's doing, dude.
Perfect. Thank you everyone for joining, and happy to be here with Acuity. It's been an absolute blast being at this conference with everyone and meeting all you folks. My name is Jake. I'm a solutions consultant with Bill. So I'm really here to mainly talk about some of the newer features we have with the Bill product. As I've been getting to know some of you folks, a lot of you are very familiar with Bill, and I love to hear that. And a lot of you have asked me about some newer features that are on the way, coming out. So that's what I'm going to be addressing today. As I'm going through this, though, feel free to drop any questions. We'll leave a little bit of time at the end to go through some Q&A, and if anyone wants to address anything. Perfect, but got the screen shared here. Again, going to talk through a few different new features we have on both the accounts payable and the spend expense side. So just starting out within the accounts payable, some newer features we have within there. You may already be familiar with the platform, but within here, one of the newer features that I want to discuss is the ability to request W-9s within the system. So rather than having to have that vendor send it in, or email it over, you can do that now directly within the Bill platform. In the vendor profile, you can come right into there. We'll be able to flag if the W-9 is collected, but if it's not collected, it's also going to be just present right there. Under that vendor, there's going to be this tax information section. So if you need to request a W-9, you can get that requested from them. If you're connected within the network, that's going to send that request right over to the vendor. They're going to be able to upload that, and it's just going to be already attached within that vendor profile. If they're not within the Bill network, you can invite them, and they're going to be able to upload that and create that free account in order to get the W-9 input in there. Another new feature that I also want to discuss, I've been talking with a few folks as well with the Acuity regarding international payments. So this is one I'm actually pretty excited for. Traditionally we have our international wires that we can send over to different countries, a lot of different countries, I believe 137. But one of the newer features we have is what we call local transfer. So now within Bill, we have a local transfer feature where this is going to be a little bit different way that we're processing these international payments. So with these local transfers, the delivery time is going to be typically within 24 hours. Your standard international wires, we're typically seeing 1 to 3 business days for those to get processed. Another big thing is with these local transfers that we're sending over to any vendors. These vendors are sometimes having to pay a little bit of fee with an intermediary bank in order to receive that. But with local transfers, these vendors are not going to be charged a wire receiving fee from their bank. It's just going to be getting that pushed over because we're not having to facilitate that through an intermediary bank. So this feature, it is live right now in the product today. If you go and add a vendor or edit their payment profile, you'll be able to see that if they are in a country of one of the eligible countries at the moment. So right now we have about 29 countries that are available for these local transfers. I'm just showing a quick list right here. Now this list, 29 right now, but we are working on adding to it. Maybe about 2-3 weeks ago, there's only 6 on here, and now we're up to 29. So our team is working fast to try and get that expanded. This is just within our help center. Feel free to take a look within there if you have any questions. But this is going to be a great way to get those international payments facilitated for any vendors you're working with. Yep. Yeah, so when you go and add a vendor, say, I'll go and just add one in here really quickly. Oh, yeah, apologies. So the question was, essentially, when you're going to be seeing that, you can edit the payment settings. You'll be able to, when you're adding in a vendor or you're editing the payment settings, you'll be able to input the information. So I'm going to take, we'll say India, for example. I'll just input some dummy information for my vendor right here. Bear with me as I get that created. Yeah, so you'll be able to see that right within the vendor profile as you're getting that set up. And you should be able to, if they're on wires currently, you should be able to edit the vendor settings, and you'll be able to get them switched over to the local transfers. So again, feel free to take a look right within here. It goes over the different kind of information that we'll need to get for that vendor in order to send those international transfers over, those local transfers. But again, going to be an awesome way to get this, get these international payments sent. Yeah, so there's a question from the group regarding any fees. So if we're sending these local transfers over in different currency, if we send it over in euros or Indian rupees, whatever it might be, there's not going to be a fee associated with it. There's only going to be the conversion rate. And for the vendor too, there's not going to be any fees for receiving that because we aren't having to use an intermediary bank to send those payments over. Great question though. Again, no fees. It's just going to be the conversion rate with that.
We had a question on the 1099 piece. We use Track 1099 to submit all the 1099s. So the question from the audience was, how does the W9 feature integrate with Track 29, like Avalara's Track 29? Do you know how we could use that, or you think how we can be efficient in using the two tools together?
That's a great question. I don't off the top of my head.
It was Robin's question, so that was Robin's good question.
Yeah, great question. I may have to think about that, but you can, keep the W9s within the system. You'll be able to export them as well, kind of have a central location. So you're working with those vendors right within there. I don't believe at the moment these W9s are transferring over to other systems, but maybe something we're coming down the road.
So just for clarification, the W9 is, they're uploading a PDF form, right? This isn't an embedded W9 where you're collecting tax ID in a separate field.
Right, so when you get the W9 uploaded, there's actually going to be some extraction of information. So even if it's sent through the inbox, I believe I should have one right within here. Bear with me as I find that. So we'll take our Dunder Mifflin vendor. If it's coming through the inbox, you'll see that, hey, new vendor detected. We want to go add this vendor. So upon adding this vendor, it's going to be able to extract information from that W9, get the vendor created, or update that vendor profile.
Yeah, it will extract the data. It just won't request.
Yeah, you would want to go in there. You can go in there and request it for network connected vendors. So from their side, they can upload it. And just to show back out of this really quickly. Within your tax management, you can also upload your own W9, whether that's yourself or a client can also do this. Upload that, and then they're able to share that with any of those vendors that might be within the network they're connected with. Awesome. Well, any other questions regarding either the W9s, the local transfers? A few more things I want to go over, but just want to make sure, see if there's anything else there. Yeah. Awesome. This one's going to be really quickly. Did want to make notes because I actually talked with someone about this morning. So we do for QuickBooks Online. I know a lot of Acuity clients are QuickBooks Online and Xero. With our sync with QuickBooks Online, we do now offer a two-way document sync for the bill attachments. So you can attach the documents in Bill, you can attach them in QuickBooks, and they're going to move back and forth. So I saw a face light up in the crowd. I'm glad to share that. And if this isn't enabled, you can just go right within your sync settings in your accounts, get that enabled, turned on. We'll have those documents moving back and forth.
So does that two-way sync, is that a two-way sync across the board, or can you just two-way sync the document?
So that's going to be two-way sync for the document specifically for QBO. There's, two-way syncing capabilities for various different fields. Some of it is still going to be a one-way sync. So it does kind of depend on the information. This document within our Help Center, our sync matrix, should be up to date in terms of the one-way, two-way syncing capabilities. But with QBO, we are trying to push for more two-way syncing capabilities on what we have within here.
Is that something we have to choose, or does it automatically sync? Because a lot of times, depending on if they're using Expensify, we turn it off. We don't like two-way sync because there's a duplication.
Yeah. So that's something you can toggle. You can enable for the documents. You can toggle if that's going to be syncing those over two-way or not. And then you also have options for other objects like your bills. There's options for one-way syncing. Same with those bill payments. There's options for two-way and one-way sync. So those can be just adjusted right within the settings of the account under the sync preferences. Awesome. And then another feature I wanted to talk a little bit about. So some of you may have worked with this, but it is newer as of this year, and there's a lot of kind of expansion going around it. It's what we call the AP card. Within this, if you have users that are using the Spend Expense platform, formerly known as Divvy, and also the Accounts Payable platform, you actually have the ability to leverage the Spend Expense credit line in order to send over bill payments for vendors that are within the network who are accepting virtual cards. I know it's a blurb of information. Let me get right into my account and show you that. Bear with me as I get switched over. Oh, I selected the wrong one, my bad. I was just going to show, again, if you have a client, they're using both bill accounts payable and they're using both bill spend expense, they're able to utilize that bill spend expense credit line in order to send out virtual cards to vendors. So these virtual cards, these are something vendors are opted into within our bill network. See this a lot with larger vendors. They've kind of consolidated all their payments being received directly into one method. So with these virtual cards, we are sending over this details about the invoices that we're paying, but we're also sending over a single-use card that the vendor is charging on their end. So you can use these virtual cards just standalone, funding it from a bank account, but part of the newer feature we have is the ability to leverage the Spend Expense credit line to send over those payments. So the nice thing with this, you'll be able to have that AP card added in as one of those payment methods. And then with that AP card, again, this is coming from my Spend Expense account. When I go review and pay, I'm going to have information about the balance that is available on that AP card. That's going to be updating in live time as people use their Spend Expense accounts. And we're going to be able to send it out using that credit line. The big benefit with this, those clients, they're still utilizing the bill system and they're sending these payments over using the Spend Expense credit line, but also getting rewards on that. So if clients are on both systems, that is available today, is something they can be opted into. If they're not opted into it or if it's not enabled for them, just feel free to reach out to our team, support team, or account manager. We can be sure to get that turned on for them. Also with this, you'll see here, it says my JP Morgan Chase Bank is AP card rewards eligible. So with this, you also have the option where you're going to be essentially funding it from the bank accounts. But what's happening in the background, we are funding from the bank accounts, but that's being put into our Spend Expense accounts, essentially overpaying our accounts, and then we're still sending out that card payment. So truly the payment is coming from the bank, but you are still utilizing that Spend Expense credit line in order to get those payments sent over. And then also just an update with Spend Expense. This is pretty exciting. So some of you may have heard that Bill has partnered with Xero. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the works, but we do now have a fully developed integration with Xero for our Spend Expense management products. Previously, we did have this with AP. We still do, of course. We have that integration, but now Spend Expense is integrating with Xero. So this is a true card transaction sync. We've got receipts are syncing over from Spend Expense over into Xero, and it's long time that we've needed this, and happy to say it's finally here. Perfect. But got about just a little over 5 minutes left here. Want to check any questions from the group that hoping to address on anything we've gone over, or happy to take any questions, comments, feedback, criticism, compliments.
We had one more question online. I believe it's about international payments, and some of the clients being able to pay with local transfer and some are not. Do you know the criteria for the local transfer availability? Does that question make sense to you? Because it didn't make sense. I don't use the product enough.
I think it makes sense to me. So yeah, in order to be eligible for local transfers, you do have to be paying to a vendor who is one of our countries that we currently support that for. So with international wires, we have about 137 countries we can send payments to, but with local transfers, currently it's at 29. We are working on expanding that list, trying to get the parity between both the different systems. So if they're on that list you can just check within our help center.
I guess the question specifically is about paying in the Philippines. Like there's some Philippines vendors that aren't eligible for local transfer and some that are, all within the Philippines. Have you seen that?
Not personally. It maybe have something to do with the bank that they are using. I know that's just moving these local transfers over. We are working more directly with the banks, again, rather than not using an intermediary bank. So it is possible that maybe the bank isn't eligible.
Maybe the initiating bank in that situation, like the client's initiating bank.
I don't believe it would be the client's initiating bank. May have to check on that, but yeah, maybe the bank that the vendor is using.
And the bank the vendor is using. Okay, so there's like a lot of variables in the local transfer area. You have to worry about your client's bank. You have to worry about the person you're paying's bank. But we're working through getting the Philippines up and running for everything. Okay.
Yeah, definitely we're working on that.
Thanks, Courtney.
Yeah, great question. Great. Another thing I also wanted to mention, so I do come from the spend expense side. I was with Divvy a few months prior to the acquisition, so this is my bread and butter. I love talking about the spend expense side. I almost said Divvy. It always rolls off the tongue here for me, but again, this is, if anyone's not familiar, this is our free to use product. So people can use this. It's included if they already have an AP account. They can also use it as a standalone product. They don't have to have an AP account in order to leverage it. It is, again, free to use. It's a great tool, great for small businesses or any nonprofits. A lot of flexibility you can have with that. And also, one thing that we have just released with the Spend Expense product is our API. If anyone's looking to develop with the Spend Expense product, that API is live today. It's free to use. Anyone's able to, if they want to create custom solutions, they can definitely utilize our API. If there's something any clients may be interested, feel free to contact our team. You can contact me directly too, and I'd be more than happy to help them get set up with any of those API solutions they're looking for. Awesome. Any other questions from the team?
That was awesome, man.
All right. Thank you, Acuity. It's been a pleasure.